Hey, welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking behavior change. We are talking about your mindset. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello and welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist. Think Thursday is all about neuroscience, brain health, and your mindset. So, welcome to Thursday. Today, I am super excited to be talking to you about a very important concept and something that's just fundamental to everything I talk about, and that is one of the most transformative forces in change. It is consistency. I actually put out a December challenge to my Facebook group and to my coaching clients to work on, and I announced it even last week on or earlier this week on the podcast, so you could all join in as well. I want you to decide to practice consistency as we're heading into the new year. This month in December, this very challenging month of distraction and partying and all the things of December, I want you to take the opportunity to practice consistency every single day. Something small, doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be alcohol related, nothing. I want you to practice doing something consistently every single day. And, it's only December 5th right now, so you still got 26 days to practice this, plenty of time. And I personally have been doing the gains, my 3 gains every day challenge. And so I've been writing those down. I've been consistent December 1 through 4 so far. So, yay me. That's part of this goal is just, like I said, small steps. And I hope you'll come and join me. Now, I know consistency can sound kind of boring, sort of like the broccoli of self improvement. But here's the thing. Your brain loves consistency. It is literally wired to thrive on it. And today we're diving into why that is and how you can actually harness this superpower to build habits, achieve your goals, and really create the life you want. We are going to explore how and why your brain loves consistency. We're going to talk about that neuroplasticity, the neuroscience of it all. We're going to talk about how small consistent actions create massive results. We'll talk about the role of the prefrontal cortex and why it's so important in rewiring your habits. And we're going to touch on the challenges of breaking unbreakable habits, right? That's what I used to call my daily drinking habit, an unbreakable habit, those habits that don't serve us any longer, and how to meet those habits with a new kind of consistency. I'm going to share some insights from 2 great books, which I will link in the show notes. If you haven't read them, they're on my recommended reading list. Both of them are awesome. Atomic Habits by James Clear. I quote Atomic Habits often in my own book, and also The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And a little more research also to just back up some of this stuff that we're talking about. So grab your favorite drink, maybe some water, coffee, tea, something maybe non-alcoholic, but up to you. And let's dive in. So, why does your brain thrive on consistency? Your brain is an energy saving machine. Neuroscientists call this cognitive efficiency. When you repeat an action, your brain creates and strengthens neural pathways. We've talked about those many times here on the podcast, and it makes the behavior easier and faster to execute in the future. And this process, which is part of neuroplasticity, right, is how the brain actually wires and rewires itself. Think of it like carving that path through a forest or a field, and the more often we use it, the clearer and easier it becomes to follow. Now, the bonus is that consistency also activates your brain's reward system. We've talked about this often with regards to alcohol and how alcohol can also impact that reward system. Each time you see progress in a positive habit or in a consistent action, no matter how small, your brain actually releases dopamine, that feel good chemical. And this creates a positive feedback loop. You repeat the action, you feel good, and you want to do it again. Now, you might be thinking right away, well, what about a habit that doesn't serve us, like drinking? Well, we're going to get into that in a moment. But first, let's deepen our understanding with some insights from both Atomic Habits and the compound effect. So, in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about starting small and stacking habits. James Clear explains that those small, consistent changes lead to extraordinary results. And he calls this the 1% rule. I talk about that a lot in my own work with people. We talk about that 1% chance for 1% improvement, Kaizen, the power of continuous improvement. And improving by just 1% each day compounds into massive gains over time. Now, this doesn't have to be statistically, clinically 1%. It's really a mental construct. So I don't want you to be like thinking, ounces or anything like that. I want you to think about small steps. That's why 1% is so important. And Claire also introduces the idea of habit stacking, which is anchoring a new habit to an existing one. For example, if you already make coffee in the morning, you can add a 2-minute gratitude practice while your coffee brews. This makes building a new habit of gratitude journaling easier because it's tied to something that you already do. That's the idea of habit stacking. In the compound effect, Darren Hardy talks about the power of time and how consistency amplifies results over time. If you think of consistency like compound interest, then small, regular contributions grow exponentially. The principle is key when it comes to habits like reducing alcohol consumption because small actions like replacing one drink a week with sparkling water compound into greater confidence and a healthier relationship with alcohol over time. And if we then apply the power of continuous improvement, that one drink one day becomes 2 drinks less on 2 days, etc. And that's how we build. That's how I work with my folks in my coaching practices in terms of meeting people where they are and starting small and making doable drink plans, right? Consistency is a superpower, and it's really the brain's ultimate superpower. And how it works behind the scenes is what you need to understand to either help yourself or understand how it's hindering you. Consistency engages your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain, the response that's responsible for decision making, that forward thinking, the logical, goal-oriented area of our brains that is essentially human, right? I talk about it being our brilliant, beautiful human brain. This is where we have developed a higher, larger part of our brain than other mammals, and it allows us to think about the future. And it's really the executive center of our brains. Every time you act consistently, whether it's choosing water over wine or journaling about your goals, you are strengthening this executive function. This makes it easier to regulate impulses and focus on your long-term goals. For example, if you're working on reducing your alcohol consumption, consistency helps rewire your brain away from those automatic patterns of reaching for a drink. And it shifts your actions from autopilot to intentional choice, which of course is, at the helm of getting control over our unconscious habits. A study in the European Journal of Social Psychology found that it takes, on average, 66 days to form a habit. Now, you've probably heard 66, you've heard 100, you've heard 21. I think that this goes all over the map. But this particular study, the reason that I want you to hear from this one specifically is that those 66 days didn't have to be perfect. That is important. Consistency is not about never missing a day. It's about showing up regularly and returning to the habit that you're trying to instill when you slip up. Research shows that people who forgive themselves for those missteps are far more likely to stay consistent over time. That's why I talk all about the off plan. And it's really about reframing mistakes as part of the process, learning that struggle is actually important and actually helps us learn. It's not a failure. Whether you are reducing your alcohol consumption, whether you are trying to incorporate new diet strategies, you're exercising, meditating, working on a thesis, every time that you return to a habit, you're reinforcing the neural pathways that make it stick. So, in either direction, right? So, that's important to remember for habits that both serve us and habits that don't. And that's really where consistency becomes a double edged sword. Your brain does not differentiate between habits that help us or habits that are harming us. It automates whatever you do consistently. And if you've been over drinking, your brain sees it as a pattern to conserve energy. Over time, drinking becomes a less of a conscious choice and more of an automatic behavior, which is really all I talk about all the time about how this isn't anything different than other habits that don't serve us. Why breaking these types of unbreakable habits feels hard is really pretty easy to understand. Number one, neural pathways are strong. They're designed to be strong. Habits that have been reinforced for years take time to be rewired. Bottom line, if you've been over drinking for decades, like I had, it is going to take time to rewire your brain. Number two, dopamine cravings. Your brain still craves the reward that it associates with the habit until you train it to crave the reward for a consistent habit in another direction. Number three, effortful thinking. Breaking a habit forces your brain to engage that prefrontal cortex instead of running on autopilot, which feels harder because it requires more energy. It is harder. It is harder for the brain. It requires more energy if that's what we want to, if that's our definition, requiring more energy. And the solution is really a new kind of consistency. To break an unhelpful habit, we need to replace it with a new one and apply the same principle of consistency. For example, instead of drinking to relax, once we understand that and challenge those thoughts around it, we want to have a different practice in place. We want to think of things that are going to help us relax and unwind, things that we would look forward to, that we will do consistently. We also need to celebrate small wins along the way and create a positive feedback loop for ourselves with our new small steps and small habits. As James Clear reminds us in Atomic Habits, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Building new systems of consistency is absolutely key. Now, here are 4 actionable strategies that you can harness and use to harness the power of consistency. Number 1, I've talked about it all the time. Start small. Begin with a tiny habit and whether that's, like I said, that's why I'm encouraging you in December to make a daily practice of something small. Mine is simple. It is 3 gains written. I write it in Google Keep. I keep it on my phone. It's super easy. It's not like some big paragraph. I literally write 3 lines. That is my consistent habit every single day during December. Number 2, track your progress. Use a habit tracker, something visual, right? And so for me, I'm using, like I said, Google Keep. I keep the note in a specific color and I go back to it and I can see. I write the date, I write my 3 things, and then I can look backwards and I can see it piling up. And it's a visual that gives me motivation. Seeing those small, consistent wins helps me take action the next day. Celebrate those small wins. Every small success matters. Celebrate it to reinforce the behavior in your brain. Like I said, I give myself kudos. I'm like, good job. All right, we've done it. Number 4, you got to plan for imperfection. Truth, I didn't write down December 4 on December 4. Last night I forgot before I went to bed. So this morning I had to write it first thing this morning. That's okay. That's okay. The key is returning to my habit without guilt or shame. I'm not beating myself up. I had a very busy day yesterday, very busy evening, and I simply it simply lost track of the thought process where I'd been doing it at night. Doesn't matter. I jumped right in this morning, put them in still for yesterday because it was a great day and I did have 3 wonderful gains. I don't need to beat myself up about the fact that I didn't write them down 12 hours earlier. Doesn't make a lick of difference. I'm still being consistent over time. Consistency is really the foundation for change, but it's also key to breaking habits that no longer serve us. And whether you're starting something new or replacing an old pattern, it's the daily intentional actions that transform your life. So this week, I really challenge you to choose that one small habit to start, to build, or something you want to replace. Start small, stay consistent, and really trust this process. I hope that you look at this as an opportunity. Like I said, in December, this month of lots of distraction, lots of thinking around December that often is, I'll just wait until January, right? How many of you have had that thought? I'll just wait until January. I don't want to have to think about this during the holidays. I want to challenge you to quit that kind of thinking, quit putting it off until Monday or next week or next month or next year. Start today, start small. Give yourself one thing that you're going to do consistently for the rest of this month. Get yourself ready for making 2025 your best year yet and be ready for practicing consistency over time. Until next time, I hope that if you are enjoying Think Thursdays, I would love to hear from you. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend, leave a review. Together, we are building the foundation of a more intentional life, a healthier brain, a better mindset, and along the way, we may be changing our relationship with alcohol too. Until next time, stay curious, my friends, stay consistent, and remember, small steps add up to big changes.